This is the back porch of my apartment. As you can see, my bandsaw is set up. I'm getting ready to cut hardboard into strips of hardboard, in which I will use in the process of making mosaic art. All of my mosaic art is made with wood. Sanding small cuts of hardboard wood for my mosaic art. I have to sand each little piece, make sure the edges are sanded really good in order before I add the paint to it. Each piece of wood has to be sanded very good. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sanding the edges of the wood. Because when you add paint, you want to add the paint. You want a very smooth cover of paint on each piece of wood to make it look good. So what I'm doing is sanding each piece of wood, carefully sanding each piece of wood, one piece at a time. It's a tedious process, but you're creating art, mosaic art the way I want to do it. You're creating mosaic art the way I want to do it. Well, you got to be patient, take your time, sand each piece of wood very carefully. That's what I'm doing, sand each piece of wood very carefully. I want the art to look very good when I'm finished with it. It's finished. So I take the time and sand each little piece of wood very carefully. In this video clip, this is many pieces of hardboard, strips of hardboard I've cut, many different sizes. I use the hardboard like a substitute for stone that most mosaic artists use, traditional mosaic artists use. I paint these with some white flat paint, and then I place the half-inch mosaic cuts onto them. It's like I guess you could say a substitute for the stones that, like I say, most traditional mosaic artists use, and they're pretty effective in creating the type of style of mosaic art that I'm making. And I need many different sizes, and I cut them up and paint them white, size of them white, and use the top of them to place the half-inch cuts of wood, pine wood, that I put on. In this video clip, I'm adding white paint to the hardboard strips. In order to use them in my mosaic art, because they are like a substitute for stone that traditional mosaic artists use. I use these strips of hardboard. I paint each strip carefully on the sides with white flat paint, and once the paint dries, most of the time I add two coats of white paint to the scripts, because I need them to be totally white. So when I add the 1/2 inch cuts of pine wood to it, it has a mosaic look to it, and it's what I like, and it's my style of mosaic art. Remember, I'm using all wood to make my mosaic art, and the hardboard is the second uh, part of the process. Like I say, I put this is right now. I already got one coat. I'm adding a second coat here, and it works. And the paint goes on, and it dries very quickly. And within about 30 minutes, it's dry already, because I'm using flat paint, not high glossy or white paint. So, and it works out really, really cool. When you look at the art and you see the little pieces of the 1/2 inch cuts on them, it's pretty impressive. Okay, then you're creating the mosaic art that I like. So this is how it's done. Okay, step by step. Each little piece has to be carefully painted with the white paint. And it's another tedious process that I do in creating the mosaic art. Painting, sanding. Yeah, it's like, hey, like I have to say, a step-by-step process, but like when it's finished, that's what I worked hard to, the finished result, what it looks like once it's finished. This is hardboard. This is hardboard. This is part of the wood I use for making my mosaic art. Each little piece of hardboard I use flat paint on it, on sides of it. I'm using the sanding block to sand away the excess paint. This has to be done in order for me to use it in the creation of my mosaic art. Each piece has to be carefully sanded, one piece at a time. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sanding each piece of wood, carefully sanding each piece of wood to make sure all the excess paint is removed. Okay. All my mosaic art is made with wood, no ceramics. Hardboard, pine wood, and plywood, and held together using wood glue. A few cuts of hardboard after sanding the excess paint away from them. Many sizes. This was the final stage before adding the 1/2 inch cuts to the hardboard. In this video clip, the pine wood 1/2 inch cuts are ready to be married to the hardboard. The 1/2 inch cuts have been painted and superglazed. The hardboard have been painted and sanded. This is part of the process of making mosaic art. As you have seen in previous video clips, the bright colors and the wood stained ones. In this video clip, I'm getting ready to add the 1/2 inch pine wood cuts onto the hardboard. I'm using wood glue, small amount of wood glue on each of the hardboards. And a little bit of glue there. I'm using a small paintbrush to add the glue. And one by one, I would pick up each one of those little pieces and add it to it. You notice I have rows and rows of of the 1/2 inch cuts all laid out to be added to the hardboard. It's the simplest way to do it. When I'm doing a lot of them, is to line all the pieces up. Like this particular rows are all 12, 12, 12, 12 on a row, and the hardwood holds 12. So I got them lined up in rows of 12, and one by one, I pick them up and add them to the hardboard. Add a little glue. This to me is the fun part when I'm doing this, because the mosaic art is coming together, and I'm adding the 1/2 inch cuts to the hardboard. In previous videos, you saw the process that I used to cut the pine wood and the hardboard and get them ready to be put together like this. This is part of the process, and it's a step by step procedure. And this is one of the I think close to the end of this part of it. From this point on, I will start, using the plywood to put all the pieces together to make the mosaic art. Whatever design I choose to make, I can do it. Once this process right here is finished, once I got all the 1/2 inch cuts glued to the hardboard, then it's easy to move on to making the art you've seen in previous video clips. This was the process of making that type of art. It was a step-by-step process, and once I got all the little pieces onto the hardboard, it's easy. It gets more easier and easier to make the mosaic art.